Yo, 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 what's up, guys? It's Chili Philly, and today we're going to be doing a Clash Royale card tier list. So, I've seen a lot of people do this before, and this is just my opinion. This is not I'm just ranking my favorite cards here, and if they're really bad, I'm going to rank them bad. But yeah, your opinions might be different. Let me know down below what you think. But yeah, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for 355 subscribers. You guys are really going crazy these days. I can't believe all the support I'm getting. Thank you for everything, guys. If you want to leave a like and smash that subscribe button, try and hit 1,000 subs by March 1st. And yeah, let's hop into it here. So we got a couple different categories. We have top 10, S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D, F, and then we have the bad stuff at the bottom here. So we're going to start off with the Valkyrie. Where am I going to put the Valk? I think the Valk is a solid A to B tier card. I think it's really based on your preference. I haven't been using the Valk too much these days, but I still think it's always a solid option. You know, it's got great range, and you can always put it down to destroy a lot of rare type of troops, like the Musketeers, Wizards, Witches. It's really good at countering a lot of things, especially Mega Knight and bigger tanks. But I think the Valk is a solid A or B tier card. I'll leave it in, I'll put it in A tier. Alright, the next card we're going to do is Rascals. Rascals, I think, are a pretty bad card, D tier, for 5 Elixir. I just don't see anyone who likes to use them or enjoys them. You know, I wish they could change them a little bit, but I don't know what you would do for the Rascals, but I'm just going to say a D tier card there. Alright, hopping into the next card, we're going to do the Giant Skeleton, which I think is an A tier card. Definitely better than the Valkyrie. I would say it used to be an S tier card, maybe a season or two ago. It was definitely broken, but the Giant Skeleton is great. Not much bad you can say about it. Next card is the Mighty Miner. So if this was last season, this would definitely be a top 10 card, but it did receive a nerf to slow it down a lot. So it's still a great champion. You could argue it's S tier, but I'm gonna leave it in A tier. I think it's definitely better than the Valkyrie and the Giant Skeleton, but it's borderline an S tier card in my opinion. It's just so broken. It's a Inferno Dragon on the ground. How can you really beat that? All right, next card is Mortar. I think Mortar is a solid A or S tier card. Everyone that I know that plays Mortar is very skilled, and it is very, like, I think it's a very skilled deck to play. And I think Mortar's just a solid win condition. Hopping to the next card, we'll do the Flying Machine. I think it's a solid B tier card. It's taken out easy by a lot of spells. But if you do miss the Flying Machine, it will like do so much damage and tear you apart slowly. And you do get a lot of value, I've realized, from Flying Machines. So that's why I think I put it in B tier. Alrighty. Hopping to the next card, we're going to do the Dark Goblin. I think the Dark Goblin's an A tier card. I think its speed is fantastic. It makes it so good. And yeah, it just does so much damage so fast. And if you can catch people off guard with it, it's unbelievable. Alrighty, hopping into the next card, we're going to do the Pump. The Pump is definitely a D tier card. I mean, you could argue it's one of the worst cards in the game. But I think if you have a certain deck, that's very compatible with the Pump, and your opponent doesn't have a good counter, it is really effective if you can out pump them in Elixir. But if you can get 2 pumps on the field, you should win most matchups. Alright. Hopping into the Bowler here. The Bowler, I think, is a B tier card. I like the Bowler. I like the concept of it. I think it just rolls a little too slow. But, yeah, you can't argue with the Bowler. I think it's a solid card. Alright, hopping into the next card. I'm going to put Archers in C tier. I don't think they're that bad, but I just don't think they have much reason to use them. I think it's more like the Rascals in a sense. Like, why are you choosing to use them unless you're playing an older Expo deck or a Mortar cycle? But yeah, so I'm not too sure about the Archers. I feel like they could use a little bit of a buff, but they're in a decent enough spot. They just get outshined by a lot of other cards. Alrighty, hopping to the next card here. We're going to do the Battle Ram, and I'm going to put it in D tier. I think there's just way too many counters to the Battle Ram, especially Log, the knockback effect. Battle Rams barely ever connect, and if they do, you're just purely outplaying your opponent. But yeah, I think the Battle Ram could either use a little speed boost or it could, have a little bit more health, whatever they wanted to do. Not much, maybe like a couple percent. But all right, hopping to the next card, we're gonna do Spear Goblins. I've seen a lot of people put them in A and B tier, but I'm more of a the Spear Goblins are my least favorite card. Honestly, I've never liked them. I've never enjoyed to use them. I just don't think they do too much. There's good chip damage on the tower, but I'm not a fan of the Spear Goblins. I'll leave them in C tier out of respect for everyone else. But they're definitely not one of my favorite cards. Well, here's the Barb launcher. Technically, this is not in the game, but it is a broken card, so we'll put that in top 10 for sure. All right, the next card is the Wall Breakers. Now, this is a tough one because I think the Wall Breakers are really good. And they can get you a lot of value in certain situations, but they're pretty easy to counter. But I think they're solid A or B tier card. I think it's based on your preference. But let me know what you guys think down below. All right. Hopping into the next card, the Zap. I think the Zap is a B tier card. Not much you need to say about it. It just resets, Infernos and such. And it just, it's not better than most of the other small spells, but it's not bad for sure. All right, hopping into the next card here. This looks like the Broken Hog. We're just going to put that in the top 10. Next, we're going to go on to the Royal Hogs. I would say you don't really see them as much anymore, but they're still definitely a good win condition. I think B tier is good for them. I think they're better than mostly everything in B tier. But yeah, I don't have much to say about the Hogs. They're easily countered with Fireball. If they don't have Fireball, you get a lot of value in the matchup. But yeah, Royal Hogs are always a great option. All right, hopping into the next card, we're going to do Clone, and I think Clone is terrible. I think in most cases, people usually have enough to counter, your Clone deck. And I just think it needs a whole rework or to get rid of the card. And I think Mirror's in the same boat. Nobody uses Mirror anymore. I think it's pretty bad. They definitely need to revert it to the old ways or just almost remove the card because there's no point to have it now. I've seen a few people use it in E-Giant decks, but that's it. Nobody uses it anymore. And next card actually is going to be the E-Giant, and I'm going to put that in A or S tier right now because everyone's playing E-Giant. That's all I see. And yeah, E-Giant is probably pretty broken right now. So if you want to go push on ladder with it, I look in the top 100 and there's at least 25 to 40 people playing E-Giant. So, all right. Hopping into the next card, we're going to do the Lava Hound. I think the Lava is a B tier card, even borderline C. I'll put it in C. I like the Lava Hound. I like the concept of it. I think it needs to do either like 2 to 3% more damage, though. I think it's a little weak for 7 Elixir. And I get that it's just a tank, but I think it needs to do a little bit more damage. But I really enjoy the Lava Hound. Alrighty. Let's hop to the next card here. And we're going to do the Minion Horde. I think the Minion Horde's a solid B tier card. I don't think, ever since they buffed it, it does more damage. It's still easily countered with Fireball, arrows, even Zap, Zap doesn't fully counter, but it gets them one shot from the tower. But I think the Minion Horde, I think that ever since the Minions got that damage buff, they've definitely been a lot better of an option. I actually might just get rid of this top 10 category. And I'll just put things in S tier instead. Alright, hopping to the next card, we'll do the Goblin Drill. That sounds like a good one. I think the Drill is weak right now. And I honestly think Bait. I can't believe Bait has made such a big comeback this season. But the Drill, though, I think has suffered a lot from the Goblin nerf that was done about a season ago. But the Drill, I think, is in trouble, and I don't see too many people use it anymore. Next card is the Tombstone. I think the Tombstone is a great A tier card. I don't think, for 3 Elixir, it gives you tremendous value, and it usually always pulls, like, so many types of cards from the opposite lane, especially. But, yeah, I think the Tombstone is a solid A tier card. Next card is the Delivery. So, I think the Delivery, honestly, could be an A tier card as well. For 3 Elixir, it gives you so much value. And if you're playing especially certain cycle decks like Miner, the Royal Delivery just gives you so much value in a lot of matchups. So yeah, I think it's definitely an A tier card. I think it's underrated for sure. I think more people should use it. All right. Hopping into the next card, we're gonna do Barb Hut, and it's definitely an F or just trash bottom card. I just can't believe they tried to rework it. The Barb Hut I don't think will just ever work. I feel bad, but it's just not a good card. Next card I'm going to do is Graveyard. I think Graveyard's an instant S tier card. I mean, if we're going to rank these here amongst which one's the best, I think Graveyard's definitely the best. Yeah, Mortar, E-Giant, and those Hogs, and, they're not, these two aren't currently in the game. They're just for a special mode. So they're just going to go to the back of the line. But you can't, you don't even need to say much about Graveyard. It's literally insane. And, RNG, what can you say? Alrighty. And sticking with S tier cards, the Archer Queen is absolutely busted. I really, like, it's unbelievable. 3 card cycle. I feel like a lot of you guys don't understand 3 card cycle. And, like, once you learn it, or even a little bit, it's just ridiculous. The Queen gets so much value in so many matchups. But if you guys can get the Queen max, do it. I really recommend the Queen. I think she's fantastic. And I think my favorite card maybe in the whole game, the Skeletons. I think they're just amazing. I wish they had 4 still. I don't mind the 3, but for 1 Elixir, they give you great value. And I always love the Larrys. All right, next card is RG. And honestly, I see a lot of people say they can't stop RG. Maybe I can make a video on that for you guys. But I think the RG is a solid A tier card. Yeah, I don't think, I think it can be stopped. But it's definitely always been a solid win condition. RG and Graveyard have been consistently, and E-Giant have been at the top of the leaderboards for a while now, and the most people are playing those. But yeah, RG, you know what, I'm gonna put it in S tier because RG really is broken. Next card is the Giant. I'll put the Giant in B tier. I think it's a good card. It's really only used in a few decks nowadays. There's still a couple decks that were older that people use, but Giant Graveyard is the most commonly one I still see. There is Giant Double Prince and other type of Prince decks, but yeah, the Giant's just, it's always been there. It's been an average card. It's definitely a little above average, but yeah, can't go wrong with the Giant. The next card I'm going to do is the Ice Golem, and I'll put that in C tier. For 2 Elixir, it could be either a B tier card as well, but it gives you a lot of value for the Elixir cost. It doesn't do much damage or usually even reach the tower unless it's played in 2.6. But, can't go wrong with the Ice Golem. Looks like there's 2 Ice Golems here. I can't remember what special mode the other one was a part of, so I'm just going to leave them both there. Alright, next card we're going to do is the Knight. And I think the Knight is a solid A tier card. I think you can't really argue it. I think the Knight just gives you a lot. For 3 Elixir, has so much health, and is a great distraction. And yeah, here's the Knight. Alright, so the next card we're going to do is the Goblin Gang. I think the Goblin Gang's a solid B tier card ever since they added their last Goblin back. Before that, it was so weak. But now it's like actually, a lot more threatening if you have the full Goblin Gang coming at your tower. And you usually have to address it pretty quick. And yeah, I just think ever since it got buffed, it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. And it has a place in the game again. Alrighty. Next card I'm going to do is Expo. And now I'm kind of thinking here. I enjoy playing Expo. Like, I really wish it was a better spot in the game. But, I've seen, shout out to Hunter, Aragon. Those guys have been killing it with Expo. I don't know how. I struggle in this meta with Expo. But if you're a great Expo player, I'm not. You can always make it work. I think Expo's... It's not in the best spot in the meta. I would say it's either A or B tier. I'll leave it in B tier. But yeah, a lot of days it comes down to rocket cycle now. It's hard to explain, but if you can get a good lock in certain matchups early on, you can definitely win the game. But if not, you just have to pretty much defend and pretty much go down the rocket cycle. But if you can, I think the Expo takes a lot of skill these days. I mean, everyone else can have other opinions, but I'm going to ride for my Expo. Alrighty. Hopping into the next card, we're going to do the Bar Barrel. And I honestly think the Bar Barrels could be classified as A or B tier card. I think for 2 Elixir, the fact that you get a Barbarian, it will hit the tower if left alone if you go right at the bridge. And yeah, it counters Goblin Barrel, counters, a lot of spam units. So I just think it's a solid card. The next card we're going to do is Phoenix. And you guys may disagree, but I still think the Phoenix is an A tier card. The fact that it has a chance to respawn every time it dies is literally insane. Even if it doesn't have as much health as it used to, I still just think the Phoenix will be an A tier card. That ability, the egg is literally the only thing that will keep it in A tier. But it works and has so much synergy in so many different decks. So yeah, I think the Phoenix is definitely always broken, and it always will be. The next card we're going to do is the Goblin Barrel. I think the Goblin Barrel's a solid A tier card. Yeah, I mean, you can't really say much about the Goblin Barrel. It's been nerfed a million times. It's been changed. But it's a solid card. That's why it's been continued to be used and one of the most used decks in the game. Shout out to the Goblin Barrel. Next card we're going to do is the Bomber. For 2 Elixir, that's a solid B tier card. Gets you a lot of ground value, a lot of splash damage. And if you can, have something in front of it, it will do a lot of damage to anything in its way. Next card we're going to do is the Mother Witch. And I'm going to put the Mother Witch in B tier. I would say it's an A tier, but I wouldn't say we're in such a spammy meta necessarily. I think it's more, E-Giant. And, I mean, Graveyard's not as everywhere as it used to be, but, if you do go up against Graveyard, you usually should win the matchup every time just with the Mother Witch. That's literally the key to those matchups. But it really just depends on your matchup. The Mother Witch could either be a great for your matchup or terrible for your matchup. There's no real in between. Alrighty, hopping into the next card, we're gonna do, let's switch it up. Alrighty, hopping back in here, let's see. Next card we're gonna do is the Elixir Golem. And I think the Elixir Golem is an F, we can put that in the F tier. I just don't think that's a good card. I think the Elixir Golem struggles these days. And yeah, it had its time and its meta, but I don't think it ever should have been a card in the game. So, yeah, poor Elixir Golem. We can put F in the chat for Elixir Golem. But, yeah, let's hop into the next card here. Oh, just realized the lava. two lavas in this. Next card we're going to do is the minions. I would put the minions in B tier, but I think they're C tier card realistically. I think the minion horde offers more value if you know, catch your opponents with no elixir. But the minions, I don't think have as much value as the minion horde, so I'm going to put them in C tier. Alrighty, the next card I'm going to put in C tier as well is the Night Witch. I think the Night Witch only works with Golem decks. That is it. It's just not that good. I think it needs buff, and there's not really much reason to use it, but it's definitely better than a lot of cards in the game, so I will give it that. Alright, let's see. Yep, we're actually getting down here in cards. Alright. So the next card I'm going to do is the Inferno Tower, and I will put that in B tier. I think the Inferno is a... Oop, I must move the Giant. I think the Inferno is a fantastic card. I've always enjoyed it. For 5 elixir, it is a little pricey. But yet again, the Inferno is a solid option for a building. And yeah, not much else to say. Next card I'm going to do is, I'm going to go with the Fireball here. So the Fireball I'm going to put in... I could put it in A tier. I think the Fireball is it's a great spell. It's always been, I guess, one of my favorite spells. And, you know, Fireball Zap is such an iconic combo. Same with the Fireball Log. You know, from the history of this game, Fireball has always been one of the greatest spells. So shout out to the Fireball. Alrighty, the next card we're going to do here is Barbarians, and I think you put them in F tier. Oh, I hate doing this. I enjoy the Barbarians. I like using the Barbarians. I think that the only deck they really shine in right now is Lava. If you use Barbarians, a lot of people aren't expecting that, and they get so much counter push value. But other than that, there's no reason to use the Barbarians. They're very easily countered, but yeah, I feel bad. I don't know what you do to change Barbarians, but maybe their formation, but whatever it is now is definitely not working. The next card I'm going to do is, I think the Princess is an S tier card. This is just my opinion, but I think the Princess is just so good. You know, I think just Princess at the Bridge is always guaranteed damage, unless you're like, you know, predicting it constantly against log bait. But I think it's so difficult to stop. And yeah, I think that single-handedly wins a lot of log bait matchups. And I'm going to put the Spear Gob Hut in D tier. Spawners did have their meta back in the day, but it's definitely not anymore. You know, not much you could say about the Spear Gob Hut. I do like that it spawns in waves of, you know, it's 3 now compared to just what it was before. But I'm still not the biggest fan. Alright, hopping into the next card here. The Monk. Man, the Monk had so much potential and then just fell off so hard. I think the Monk's terrible now. I don't see anybody at all using it. It was a cool idea, but they nerfed it so much to the point now where nobody likes it, and I can't stand it. But, you know, hopefully we see better days for the Monk. Alright, hopping into the next card. I'm going to do the Miner, and I'm going to put the Miner in A tier. I think it's a solid card. You know, get you, if you leave it like alone, I'm pretty sure it does like a rocket's worth of damage if left like, you know, unattended. And, you know, for 3 elixir for that much damage, how can you beat that? And speaking of the rocket, I think the rocket is going to be, oops, put the Expo back where it was. And I think the rocket is also an S tier card. I think it is one of the spells that are definitely S tier. It does so much damage, and Rocket Cycle is such a big part of the game now, especially like higher up competitively. But yeah, can't go wrong with the Rocket. Alrighty, hopping to the next card, the Snowball. I think the Snowball is a C tier card. Um, I don't think there's much reason to use the Snowball over some certain other spells, unless you have like a Zap with it or arrows. But yeah, I don't think the Snowball is the best option. It's preferably it's one of my least favorite spells besides the Clone and Mirror technically, but nothing really wrong with the Snowball. It's just not the best card. It's pretty average to me. Alrighty. Hopping to the next card, I think I'm going to put the Dark Prince in A or B tier. Based on your preference, but I think the Dark Prince is a great card. I think it gives you a lot of value, especially that splash damage for 4 Elixir and that charge ability it has with the shield. Come on now. It gets, and don't even tell, like, when it gets to that tower, it does so many times when it's charging up. It doesn't look like it's going to make it to the tower, but it does. It always does. So I love the Dark Prince, and yeah, I give it a lot of praise. Alrighty, the next card we're going to do is the Hunter, and I think the Hunter is a very average card in my opinion. It's really only used in RG, and honestly, I'm not even sure what else, but I think I don't think it's a bad card. I just think it's really like in the middle of everything. I think it's better than a lot of these cards in C tier, but yeah, I just don't have much to say about the Hunter. Alright, the next card I want to do is the Ice Spirit, which the Ice Spirit I think is a solid S tier card. It's either A or S tier, but the Ice Spirit for the freeze value it freezes them for, I think it's like a second or so, but it is like, for 1 Elixir, it's a great distraction. It's just like the Skellies in my opinion, but even better. But yeah, shout out to the Ice Spirit. Alright, next card we're going to do is the Mega Knight. I think the Mega Knight's a solid B tier card. I think it's always been overhyped. I just think, obviously a lot of people, it attracts them because it's a lot less more of a skill card and more of a, just throw it down and hopefully it gets through. But, there's a few Mega Knight decks that I have some respect for, and in the sense of, it's not just Mega Knight spam. But, yeah, it's not a terrible card. It's definitely a lot weaker than it used to be, but, yeah, it's definitely a B tier card. Can't say otherwise. And the next card we're going to do is the Goblin Cage, which I will put in C tier. Not a big fan of the cage. I think it's okay. But the Goblin Brawler does give you a lot of counter push value, and that's really the only thing you got going is the counter push value, and it is a good distraction. But other than that, it's a very average card. Hopping in next here, let's do the Rage. The Rage is an interesting one. I don't like it after it's, change, or a lot of people say nerf even though it wasn't a nerf, it's a rework. But a lot of people are looking at it like it is a nerf because of, the smaller radius. And it does get rid of, like, skeletons or goblins, but I don't think a lot of people are liking it. And I think the... Alrighty, hopping into the next card here. Let's see. Let's do the Ice Wizard. I think the Ice Wizard is a solid B tier card, B or C. But, you can't say much about the Ice Wizard. Its slow effect is great. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but its slowing down effect is pretty much the whole point of the Ice Wizard. And yeah, I think it's a solid card for 3 Elixir. Can't beat that. Alright, the next card I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to do the Freeze. And I think the Freeze is a B or C tier card. I'm not a big fan of the Freeze. I don't really use it too often. But it is a great surprise factor. That's really, like, most of its points there. So, yeah, I think surprise factor keeps it just in C tier. Alright. So, hopping into the next card, we're going to do... let's do arrows. I think arrows are... It's not letting me pick up the arrows for some reason. Alright. Anyway, I guess we'll just do E-barbs. We'll put E-barbs in... I think B tier. I think they're solid value for, 6 elixirs. They're very strong. They are a good counter to a lot of different things. But yeah, I think the E-Barbs are, a no-skill type of card, but they are in B tier. Alright, there go the arrows. They finally work. But I think arrows are an A tier card as well. I think they're a solid spell. There's not much to say about them. They counter minions and goblins and all type of spam units. But yeah, shout out to the arrows. They've always been a very good card in this game. Alrighty, hopping into the next card here. We're going to put up one of our small spells back in S tier where it belongs. And we're going to put the log in S tier. The log has always been one of the best cards in the game. It's a solid option. And yeah, I just think the log, even though it doesn't do very much damage offensively, I just think that the log defensively is just so much capability and it gives you such an advantage. But yeah, log has always been one of the best cards in the game. And yeah, it just has a lot to offer. Alrighty. Hopping into the next card, we're going to do the Mini P.E.K.K.A. And the Mini P.E.K.K.A. is definitely an S or A tier card, depending on your preference. I'll put it in A tier. But the Mini P.E.K.K.A. I think is just awesome. I love the concept of the card. And yeah, shout out to the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Oh, and we'll put its brother or sister here all the way up into the broken category. Yeah, we'll put all these ones. All the cards that aren't normally in the game we'll put up there. Alright. So not looking too bad so far. Looks like we got a decent amount of cards left. Alright. Next card we're going to do is the Mega Minion. Mega Minion, I think, is a D tier card ever since the Phoenix has become a thing. Oh, low power mode. But ever since the Phoenix has came out in this game, the Mega Minion has just been overlooked. And why wouldn't you use the Phoenix compared to the Mega Minion? It's a lot better. The Phoenix has a lot more capabilities. And the Mega Minion, I do think that's a good card, and it should be buffed a little so people still have the option to use the Mega Minion or the Phoenix. But I think the Phoenix there's no reason to use the Mega Minion unless you just don't have a Phoenix that's leveled up or, whatever your case may be. But yeah, the Mega Minion, I just feel bad just getting overlooked now. Next card I'm going to do is the Fire Spirit. I think the Fire Spirit is a solid A tier card. I think it used to be an S tier card. But for some reason, I've seen a lot of people starting to go away from it. Don't know why, but I'm not going to complain. I think I think it's still a solid option. But alrighty. Hopping into the next card here, we're going to do Sparky. And I think Sparky's a D tier card. I just don't think it works as well as it used to. Don't get me wrong, it does a ton of damage. And I do like the concept of the card. I just don't think a lot of people enjoy using Sparky. And I really only see it work with Giant or Goblin Giant. And I don't think a lot of people like to typically play those two decks. So the Sparky just definitely gets thrown in the dust. But yeah, it's a shame. Sparky could have definitely been such a better card. But what are you going to do? The next card we're going to do, we'll go with the Balloon. I want to put the Balloon in B tier. I think the Balloon's a solid card, a solid win condition. But you only see a few types of decks anymore, like Lumberloon. You see Lava Loon. There's definitely a few Minor Loon, and there's a few different possibilities you can use. But I just don't see many people using the Balloon like they used to. It used to be so broken. But yeah, it's definitely at least a B tier card. It's better than most of the cards in B tier, I would say. Oh, and by the way, guys, I don't have these ranked in exact order. I just have them in a general spot. Some of them are ranked actually, but some of them aren't. Maybe at the end we'll go back and we'll put them in a final order, or we'll just leave them in tiers. So we'll see what happens. Alrighty, hopping into the next card here. I think we're gonna do the Golem. Now the Golem for me is a B tier card, or honestly, could be A or B tier. Um, I think the Golem is just a solid win condition. It always will be. And every season, there's always people playing it. No matter there's a few new variants now actually, but before that, it was just Night Witch Golem I've been seeing. But Pump Golem has just became a pretty big deck over this last season. And it's been around before, but it's coming back again, which is awesome. I like to see old decks return. But yeah, let's hop into the next card here. The next card I want to do is Skelly Drags. Oh my goodness. I just can't believe how flawed the Skelly Drags are. Their splash is just not good at all. But the only deck they work in is Lava. And I do play Lava a decent amount. But I just think the Skelly Drags are just not it. They need to do a little more of something. Maybe just splash, not damage necessarily. But the Skelly Drags are just they're really question marks when you think about it. I want to put them in trash, bottom 5. But realistically, I don't think they're as worse. They're as bad as Barb Hut, Mirror, and Clone so far. But I'm not a fan of the Skelly Drags. Alrighty, hopping into the next card here. We're going to do the Wizard, and I just think the Wizard's trash. Don't get me wrong, for mid-ladder players, if you can just get a P.E.K.K.A. Mega Knight in front and have a Wizard behind it, you can definitely do something against people who have no idea what they're doing. But once you go start to play people who are have even a little amount of skill, you start to have problems with your decks. The Wizard is just such a flawed card, honestly. Everyone wants a rework for it, but at the same time, I think they're not reworking it for one reason and one reason only. If they do, they're going to break the card, and it's going to become either an S or an A tier card. And I don't think Supercell wants that. I think they'd rather have just a lower ranking players abuse this card until they realize it doesn't work past a certain point. And there are some people who make it work higher up on ladder, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know. I could never. I don't know how, to really use the Wizard at top ladder. I struggle, so. Alrighty. Hopping to the next card, we're going to do the Cannon, and I'm going to put the Cannon in B tier. For 3 Elixir, it's a solid distraction, and it does a lot of damage. They did nerf it, and it's still being used a lot, even after its nerf. So, yeah, shout out to the Cannon. Great defense. And sticking with defenses, we're going to do the Bomb Tower. I feel like the Bomb Tower is a B or C tier card. I feel like it definitely gets overlooked because it's 5 Elixir. And it doesn't provide the same value like an Inferno Tower would. But it does counter certain things, it does a lot of splash damage, which is, its strength. But I'm not sure. I think for 5 Elixir, for a ground defense only, or I think it's 4 Elixir now. But when it was 5, I think it was definitely overlooked in one of the worst cards. But ever since they changed it, I could be wrong. Let me know down below, guys. But ever since they changed it, I think it's definitely used a little more, but only in certain types of decks. But, I'll show some love to the Bomb Tower, keep it in C tier. Alrighty, hopping into the next card. Now, this could be controversial for some of you, but I can't stand the 3 Musketeers. I don't think they're good. I think you can counter them so easily. I don't get it. But let me know down below, guys, what you think about the 3 Musketeers, because I just think that they're not it. And listen, certain people can outskill you or, pump on you and win with 3 Muskies. And, that's part of the game. You lose to a lot of matchups. But I just feel like 3 Muskies is just one. I've just never understood why people play it. I don't see 3 Musketeers as a win condition. But, yeah, you could argue that they should be in D or C tier. And I wouldn't say you're wrong. I just don't like the 3 Musketeers, so I'm going to put them in this category. Alright, hopping into the next card, let's do the Electro Dragon. I'll put the Electro Dragon in C tier. It really only works in Lumberloon or like beatdown decks like Golem, even like, I've seen it in P.E.K.K.A as well. But unless you can't, like, if you need to build up a big push, I feel like for the Electro Dragon to work typically. But yeah, I think I enjoy using the Electro Dragon. I think it's a cool concept and a really good card. I love the chain ability effect. That honestly might make me just put it in B tier because it can chain. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Alrighty, let's keep this going here. And we will use, oh, these look like the Super Barbarians. So we'll just put those up top here. Alright, and we'll move on to the next card. So the next card I want to do is the Fisherman. The Fisherman, I think, is a solid C tier card. I don't think it's, beyond broken or anything, but it definitely is great for activating your King Tower or even, letting it get to a defense so it can block an Inferno or, other sorts. But I think the Fisherman's a very average card. I used to like it a lot more, but I think it's in the middle now. Alrighty, the next card we're going to do is Poison, and I'm going to put Poison in... I'll put it in B tier. I think the Poison has a lot to offer. And yeah, I think it's like, it does a lot of damage. It takes out spam units very well, air and ground. And yeah, the Poison just an overall solid card. The next card I want to do is the Furnace, and I will put the Furnace in C tier. I think the Furnace is a lot better than other spawners like the Spear Gob Hut and the Barbarian Hut. But at the same time, I really don't think it has that much value. It's definitely like the most annoying one because of the amount of damage it does. But yeah, I don't think it's any better than C tier though. Alrighty, the next card we're gonna do is the Skeleton King. The Skeleton King in my book is a solid A tier card. It's paired fantastic with Graveyard. And yeah, just the fact that it can spawn skeletons like the RNG, just like the Graveyard, just makes it broken. So yeah, I'm gonna put the Skeleton King in A tier. I think it's better than most cards in A tier. Alright. Hopping into the next card, we're gonna do the Magic Archer. And I think if you know how to use the Magic Archer, it's a solid A tier card. But yeah, we'll put it here behind the Phoenix. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Magic Archer. I think it is so annoying. I just try to fireball it as soon as I can to get it off the map. And, Magic Archer Tornado has been such a broken combo for so long. People just chip away the whole game with it. So you have to stay aware of that. But yeah, I just find the Magic Archer incredibly annoying, and I think you guys will as well. Alright, the next card we're going to do is the Earthquake. Now, the Earthquake, I'm not a fan of at all, but I do think it's a solid card, solid B to A tier card. It does a lot of damage, and it destroys buildings pretty easily. It's paired great with Hog, usually, but that's really about it now. Alright, hopping into the next card, and we're going to put the Battle Healer in F tier. I can't stand the Battle Healer. I think if you get two of them down, it is kind of broken. But I just think this card should have never been in the game. Along with, like, the heal spell from back in the day. Like, cards like this shouldn't have been in the game. The heal spirit, though, on the other hand, I think should be in the game. But the healer, I think, is just too much. The heal spirit, just for a little bit of healing, is fine. So that makes me want to put the heal spirit and just have it in D tier. But yeah, healing cards, I just don't think should be in the game at all. Let me know what you guys think down below. Alrighty, the next card, we are going to do the Goblin Giant. And for me, it's a solid C tier card. It's, I think it needs a little bit of a speed boost. A lot of you guys can honestly would argue to put it in D tier. But I do think it needs a speed boost. And yeah, it's very difficult to get to the tower unless you're playing someone who's not too experienced against it. But it's definitely a C or D tier card. I'll leave it in C tier for now. Alrighty, the next card is going to be the Baby Dragon, and I think that's a C tier card as well. I think it's a solid splash unit. You know, for 4 Elixir, it gives you a lot of value, and if left alone, it will do a lot of damage to the tower. But, you know, Baby Dragon I think is average. I don't really see that many people use it anymore, but I think it's a very average card. Alrighty. So hopping into the next, what should we do next? We'll do the Bandit. I think the Bandit is a solid B tier card. I think it's better than a lot of cards in B tier. For 3 Elixir, that dash value that it has, it's incredible. And while we're speaking about dash value, I will put the Golden Knight in A or S tier. The Golden Knight is, I love the Golden Knight. I think it's like one of my favorite cards right now. And the fact that it's paired with Tornado, it like can always dash on the tower and get a lot of damage. I think that's very underlooked these days. But the Golden Knight, I think, is perfect. Alright, hopping into the next card here, we are going to do the Witch. The Witch is an interesting card to rate. I'm not a big fan of the Witch, but I think lower down in ladder, it's definitely a lot better. I'll give it C tier out of respect. You know, I think the Witch is a good concept card. And, you know, if you have no Elixir, it is kind of hard to stop. But if you know how to properly defend most of the time, you probably won't struggle with the Witch. So I will put it in C tier. Alrighty, the next card I want to do is the Hog Rider. I think the Hog Rider is what you call like the top of an A tier type of card. And yeah, I think that's where I'll put it. I just think how do I want to say this? I think the Hog Rider has just always been one of the most solid win conditions. It usually always gets a hit unless they have a nice big defense to stop it. But I think just the Hog is OP, and I think a lot of you guys would agree with me. You know, it's not completely broken, that's why it's not an S tier, but it is fantastic. I think it's a borderline S tier card. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Alright, so we're getting to the last bit of cards here. And we'll start off with the Goblins next. The Goblins have definitely made a big push up. Before, I would say they were more C, D, like even D, F tiers cards. But now, ever since they got buffed, I would say they're at least a B tier card. And you can argue A tier, and I would not disagree with you. There's tremendous value for them now. They get so much damage left alone, especially paired with the Spirit. Like a nice Spirit. If you get a little kind of freeze going, those Goblins will shred those towers down like you wouldn't believe. Alrighty, hopping into the next card here. I think I'm going to do the Tornado, and I think the Tornado belongs in S tier. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, I'm trying to move it. It's kind of stuck. There we go. So, yeah, I'm going to put the Tornado in S tier. Ooh. And, yeah, look at that. The Tornado, yeah, it's sitting up there with the greats. I think just the Tornado is fantastic. It's a great card. Great concept of a card. Being able to pull things to your King Tower to change the whole outcome of the game early on. It really changes a lot of matchups, and I just think the Tornado is a very versatile card, and it's definitely paired up with certain cards. It does fantastic. Just like this card we're about to show you now, the Executioner. So the Executioner definitely doesn't belong in these tiers. I would put it in B tier. But when this is paired with the Tornado, like, it is insane how much value the Executioner gets. Like, it's very, you can argue it's an A tier card, even though there are a lot of cards in A and B tier. But, yeah, it's very solid. You can't argue against the Executioner. Alright, hopping to the next card, the Tesla. The Tesla has been on definitely on a downfall recently. I would keep the Tesla, honestly, in my opinion, is C tier. It used to be my favorite defense for a long time, but then it started getting nerfed, and now it's just not the same. I think it's, in my opinion, I like it more than the bomb tower and the cage, but it's just not the same, and I think you guys can see that too. The Tesla is just doesn't work. Doesn't work in this meta for sure. But anyway, let's hop into. Oh yeah, we're definitely getting down to the last few cards here. We'll do the Skelly Barrel, and I will put the Skelly Barrel in B tier. I think it's like guaranteed damage. I think it's a very overlooked card. For 3 elixir, it gets you a lot of value. And if you let it go, it's getting guaranteed damage. So, all right. Hopping to the next card here, I will do guards, and I think guards are very underrated. They're an A tier card, borderline S tier in my opinion, like arguable. But guards are such a good defensive card, and I don't see too many people use them nowadays. But they're very solid still. It's a great defense. It's a great distraction for 3 elixir. But yeah, it's not really the guards meta it seems. But all right, hopping into the next card, I will do the lumberjack. And it's definitely not an F tier card. But ever since the Rage rework, I would say it used to be B tier. Maybe it's C tier now, high C tier, low B tier. It's an in-between card for sure, but the Rage is definitely a nerf for the Lumberjack. That's for sure. But yeah, I've never seen really any people say they're happy about the change for the Lumberjack. So honestly, I might put it in C tier. I'm not too happy that they changed the Rage for the Lumberjack. I wish they made that the same still. But, all right. Next, we're going to do the Firecracker. I am not a fan of the Firecracker at all, but I do think it is kind of annoying to stop. So I'm just going to put it in higher C tier, honestly. I think it's better than all these cards in C tier. I'll put it in low. I'll put it in B tier. It's definitely better than all these cards in C, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be. Firecracker gets overlooked now. A lot of cards get overlooked just because of the fact of 3 card cycle, and you can only have so many cards in your deck, so it's starting to push a lot of these other cards to near the bottom. And you figure that you have that many cards, there are going to be bottom cards regardless. And yeah, I just think I'm not sure. I just think I'm really upset about the Lumberjack nerf. That's the one that really hurt me a lot. Even let's see. Yeah, it's the Firecracker. I enjoy playing it, but not going up against it. That's one way I'll put it. But anyway, moving on. The next card I'm going to do is the Cannon Cart. The Cannon Cart, I think it's a B tier card. I would say it's A tier. It does have a lot of health. Honestly, I'll throw it in A tier. I think it is a solid card. I just think it's not that it's not really used anymore. And it did get a nerf, but it's still solid after its nerf. But there's not really too many great matchups, I think, if you're playing Cannon Cart, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the Cannon Cart. I don't really have too big of an opinion on it. But I think it's definitely, a solid card. All right, hopping into the next card, I'm going to put the Ram Rider in D tier, honestly. Maybe C tier, just because of its ability to slow things down. But if it didn't have that, I think it would just be a D tier card. That ability it has is the only thing that makes it a usable card in Clash Royale. If it didn't have that, nobody would use it. It's just like the Battle Ram. The Battle Ram could be in F tier, but I will leave it in D tier. Because I used to like playing it a little bit back in the days, but the Ram Rider, it's the same boat. Log pushes it back, and it has to recharge back up. And it's not like it's doing damage while it's like really coming to the tower. It will slow things down and do a little bit of damage, but Yeah, it definitely needs a rework, or it needs to do a little more damage as soon as it starts to charge. Not really sure what they should do, but just throwing out some ideas. Alright, hopping in here to the last spell that we have. We're going to do Lightning, and I think Lightning recently has been a B tier card, but the last few seasons before this, it's definitely been a C or D, so I will leave it in C. I do like the Lightning. It's more of a Lightning meta now, but I'm not sure. I'd prefer to use Rocket or other spells over, besides Clone and Mirror, of course, but Lightning's definitely not my favorite spell to use. I like to have a, slower, not a slower cycle, a quicker cycle. And if you're using Lightning, your cycle's definitely not as quick as you want it to be. All right. Let's hop into the next card here. We will do the Prince. Now, the Prince is an interesting card. It used to be, broken, I think. But now I think it's a B tier card. It's strong. It's not overpowered, not broken for sure. But if you leave that unattended, it will shred down your towers. It's insane. I don't have much to say, but it's a strong card. It's very strong. All right, hopping into the next card, we will do the Royal Ghost. And I think the Ghost is a B tier card. The invisibility is fantastic. Can't beat the invisibility. And I think, they nerfed it to make you're invisible a little less now. But still, it's guaranteed damage a lot of the time. And a lot of people don't like to address the ghosts because then you can go in with whatever else you have in your deck. But yeah, it's definitely great counter pressure as well. Alright, and I think the Musketeer, you could argue, is a B to A card. I will put it in A because I think it gets a lot of value. Let me know what you guys think, though. I think the Musketeer, because, especially in 2.6, people just cycle right back to it. It's unbelievable. All right. Next card we're going to do is the Skeleton Army. No, I'll leave that for last, the Skarmy. I'm going to do the E-Wiz, not the E-Wiz, sorry, guys. The E-Spirit instead, and I love the E-Spirit, guys. I think it's an A or S tier card. I love the E-Spirit. Let me know what you guys think about it. But, yeah, I just think it's so solid. It depends on the matchup. That's why it could be an A tier card as well, but I will leave it in A tier because it really depends on what you're going up against. Just like the Mother Witch, per se. But against Graveyard and other sorts, it's fantastic. Against Inferno Tower. And this may be my favorite card in the game. These Zappies. Now, the Zappies, they have to go up high for me. I'm a big advocate of the Zappies. I'm going to put them in A tier. It's such a great defensive card. Splitting them in the back is always a great play. And, I know a lot of the time the goal is to pretty much either get damage early in the game or you're stalling to get the double where your deck will shine. I feel like when you typically use Zappies, you're waiting for double, and they're a great distraction card to stall out the game to reach double Elixir. But I think the Zappies design is just fantastic. I love the Zappies. Let me know what you guys think about the Zappies down below. Alrighty, guys, so we got a few cards left. We got the E-Wiz, the Bats, Inferno Dragon, Skarmy, and we got the Recruits. So we're going to put the Recruits in... this is a tough one. I guess we'll throw them up in B tier. I think they're a strong card. You can't argue that they're not strong. They work really well in Fireball bait decks. And yeah, if you really want to get Fireball bait a shot, guys, it's definitely always a good option in any meta. It's definitely hard to defend, especially if you don't have Fireball. If you have Rocket, it's not the best option. But yeah, I would definitely give that deck a shot. All right, hopping into the next card here, we're going to do the E-Wiz. And honestly, the E-Wiz is not really one of my favorites. I think it's a solid C tier card. I think it's just very easily countered, but it does offer good value. But I just think it never really reaches its destination, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think the E-Wiz is definitely a card that struggles a little bit. All right, hopping into the last three. We're going to go with the Bats. And I think the Bats are a C tier card. For value, I think they offer a lot of value. I prefer the Bats over the Spear Gobs. The Spear Gobs are my least favorite card, honestly, in Clash Royale. Along with the Heal Spirit and a few other, but I just don't enjoy using those two cards. But I think the Bats get you good value for 2 Elixir, and you can't really complain. Alrighty, hopping into the 2 remaining cards. We have the Inferno Dragon and the Skeleton Army. So the Inferno Dragon, I'm going to put in high B tier. I think, for an air Inferno Tower, pretty much, it moves around. It's a fantastic card. It definitely works a lot. It works really good. I don't have much complaints about the Inferno Dragon, but I just think it's a very strong card, and it's been a very strong card ever since it came out. So, yeah. And last but not least, guys, we have the Skeleton Army. And I think the Skeleton Army is either a B or an A tier card. You could say high B tier or low A tier. It's definitely not, an insane card, but it just gets so much value with all those skeletons. It can take out a hog without letting it get a hit if you put it down early enough. It can stop a lot of different things, but it is countered very easily as well. So that's the one thing about the Skarmy. But yeah, guys, so here's our card tier list. We're looking pretty good here. Let me know what you guys think down below, and if you guys want to leave a like and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. But yeah, if you guys have anything different or want to put your opinions down below, let me know. And I also have more tier lists coming and more 1 hour specials coming. So yeah, guys, I appreciate all the support. Please leave a like and subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by March. And yeah, guys, Chili Philly. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. It's chilly.